Good day everyone people. Today is leg day and I'm going to be doing study of the leg. And first I started with the skeleton and I just listed out the bones that actually make up the leg. Not all the bones because there are a lot of rocky bones that are actually around the foot and I wasn't interested in them. You're not interested in them when I was talking about the metacarpals and the phalanges and all the different indications and names. We're not interested in that. We're artists. We just want to know the shape and how it looks and how we can represent it simply for ourselves and our brains. So today we're going to look at the legs. I just quickly did a drawing of the leg so that it's going to be simple for me. Yeah, and then next thing, which is usually the juicy part and the part that actually makes me confused, is the muscles, right? So the way I study the muscles is that sometimes if I care enough, because sometimes I can be very lazy and we don't really care about the etymology of the names, but sometimes to actually remember the names, if I'm interested enough in the name, I'll just look at the etymology of the name, because I'm seeing a lot of new names that are going to be very difficult to memorize. So I'm going to do that here. So quickly, we're just going to start and do the muscles. Yeah, like so the way I do my drawing, I drew skeletons whenever I'm doing my drawing so that I can get the shape, and that's what we're going to apply here for the legs. Simply, and one thing I noticed about drawing the legs in also something similar I noticed about drawing the hands is that there are a lot of curves and intersections like that actually make the leg what it is. There's what do they call them? This thing known as counterbalance, and everything is not necessarily even, right? So you just kind of have to get this rhythm of how things look when you're drawing the leg. I've drawn the leg before. I do a lot of drawings. So like I'm a bit familiar with how the leg looks, but I haven't properly done a study of the muscles. Proper. So the way I sort of tend to look at the legs and even the arms is that I look at it as like there are points, right? There are connection points. I call it connection. No, not connection points. There are peaks. There are peaks, right? So we have here, we have the glutes here or the muscles here. So like there's a peak here. That's why I see it's curved, right? But there's a peak here, and then curved here, and then there's a peak at this area too, and curved, and then there's another peak here, right? But here is smooth, and then there's a peak here, and here is relatively smooth, but you could call it a peak. But they are not. They're usually not in a straight line. They're usually aligned, not aligned, misaligned. They are not symmetrical. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not symmetrical. So yeah, you just kind of have to know that. And the best way to actually do it is to do a lot of drawings. Even though I've not done study of the leg and I'm unfamiliar, I haven't done like a proper study of the leg. I'm a bit familiar with how to draw it because I've done it a lot of times. So even though I may not get it first time like how I would if this is like a study I've done regularly, I would still be a bit confident in how it looks. So over here we have I've done a quick sketch for the leg. So now I'm going to apply the muscles, and we're going to read through it. That's how I actually work. So I just erase it a bit, and then we're going to read through it and confuse ourselves a bit, right? Even though we won't remember it, but it's important to me to just like know what sort of what's going on. And I'm looking at this book called here, Anatomy for Sculptors. Very good book. If you're like an intermediate, or even if you're just a beginner, like if you just get the book and do everything there, I guarantee you improve by like 50%. Even though like the next 50% to actually make you like 100% complete artist in terms of anatomy, the margins are very fine. Like an artist that is like 80 and an artist that's like 85, there could be a very stark difference in terms of quality. But that first 50%, you're just going to it's going to like cover like the bases that you need to know. So yeah, let's look at that. So we're looking at A, which is standing for ASIS. That sounds like a terrorist group, which goes from all the way down here. So I guess that's a tendon or something. Lateralis here. That is not the vastus lateralis. Yeah, this is the vastus lateralis over here, and then we're having the rectus femoris in the middle. All right, I just want to get the big shapes out of the way. So we have the tensor fascia latae. Damn. Yeah, so what we have learned from like looking, some of my favorite artists, they do draw realistically and they do draw in a very detailed way. And usually, when you're drawing fun characters, they're usually muscular, like superhero characters for comics. They're usually muscular, and there are some few muscles that usually you try and remember whenever you're drawing um, those characters. So that is what I personally take note of whenever I'm, doing this. Whenever I'm doing studies, and like when I then go back to look at those works, I'm not like very confused, or I have a better understanding of how like that artist, like sort of what they are doing, or what their like approach is, like what they are thinking about when they are making their illustrations. And I can learn from just looking at it because I kind of have a good basic understanding of what they are doing in terms of anatomy. All right, we're going to move on to the other part, or the back view of the legs. So, um, I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to duplicate what I have here, like these two views. It's something I always do in character design. So what I would do is that I'll just duplicate it and then take that view and just sort of flip it and move it like this. Uh, since I have already drawn it, I just have confidence in myself that I can, draw it again. If I've done it once, I can do it twice. So I'll just do this, and then I'll take this particular view and just flip it like this. What I would say is that whenever you're doing these drawings, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, or just address this or do a study regarding it. It is, like I said it before, like at the start, like it's just important to sort of maybe sort of oversimplify the drawings. So you could do something like this, right, for this angle, and then do something like this for this angle, then do something like this for this angle, and then do something like this to kind of oversimplify your, like, how the leg is drawn. And with these simple lines, we've sort of gotten, like, for this area, you go like this, yeah, and then go like this, and then go like this, right? But for here, you just go like this, and then go like this, and go like this, and you've sort of like gotten the curve of the leg, how it looks. And of course, you can then detail them a little bit more. But with this simple lines, like we've sort of understood the rhythm and flow of the leg and how it looks. And with these simple lines, it's going to be easier whenever you're like doing your sketches. Like, the reason we do all these complex studies is so that we can simplify it for our brains, so that when it's time to do our figure drawing, it becomes a whole lot easier. So this is the back view. I'm going to show you how I usually do it, just to save time. So I reduce the opacity a lot, and then I would just normally I would just draw it like from scratch, but I feel like I already know how to do that. Like, I know all the muscles. I mean, I know how to draw the shape, like the base that would actually make up the leg. But I'm studying the muscles, so I'm going to try and like sort of focus on that, rather than forcing myself to like learn the figure, which I already know how to do. Like, yeah. So that's it for now. I probably know just about five muscles here in total, but doing this exercise, it's not like I'm going to like be able to know all the muscles, but like doing it over and over again and doing it in different angles is like kind of, how would I say, starts the connection process between my lack of understanding and understanding. Like my brain will be moving forward towards understanding. So yeah, that's just what this does, and it keeps me familiarized. And because of the fact that I'm taking my time to actually color this, like detail it, like go through the names and then like add the colors in different areas, is going to kind of build the connection, and like strengthen like how much I understand the muscles of the leg. It's not an instantaneous process, but it's something that when I take these steps, I've discovered that it actually makes me understand the muscles better. Like I don't remember all the muscles of the arm in the arm studies I did, especially the muscles of this forearm area, but I do remember a lot of the muscles and a lot of the shapes. And it has made me get better at drawing the arm in general. So yeah, the next thing I'm just going to quickly do is that I'm going to try and like, because when we draw, we're not actually going to see all these muscles, right? We're not going to see all these muscles. So let's look at a real leg and see how we can apply these muscles to a real leg. So we have this view over here. So I'm not going to draw it from scratch because I sort of like understand, what's going on here, right? I get the entire gist of it. So right, so we have our quads muscles over here, like this. We have our quad muscles. So we can see like the shadowing. The shadows, like since it's in, let's say, black and white or grayscale, the shadows are going to be what are going to tell you like where the muscles are, sort of. It's not going to be very detailed because depending on the leanness of the person you're drawing. So we have our, what I call this, vastus medialis, vastus medialis, and then sartorius muscle, or the longest muscle in the human body. Or some people call it the talar muscle. And because of the fat, we're not necessarily going to see the muscle on this part of the body. Rectus femoris, this guy over here. If you look at a lot of David Finch's illustrations, you see this muscle very defined. Break it down into like a normal leg with the muscles in the background. So with this kind of study, like understanding becomes a whole lot easier, especially if you're like looking at it from like a bodybuilder's view, like a bodybuilder's muscle. But this is like a normal healthy person, has good amount of muscles on his body, so it was a very good reference to use. So this exercise is very helpful. It's what I've used for like almost all the parts of the body. I'll do something like this, and then just get real references, and I'll go back to like the muscles themselves where they are labeled, and then like sort of look at it and trace over those muscles on top of that real reference, and it just becomes a whole lot easier for me to understand where the muscles is located. And when they are twisted or contorted or flexed or compressed, I would sort of understand like how the new shape that particular muscle would take. And that is what has helped me in my understanding of anatomy. I'm not the best at it. I'm not at the level that I want to be, but I am happy with the progress and growth that I'm undertaking. If this video helped you in any way, please give it a thumbs up. And please subscribe if you haven't. We're trying to get to 2K subscribers. Please help me out. I'll be really grateful for that. And I'll see you in the next leg video. So we're going to do a new leg video where we're probably going to break down the quads, like the calves, and maybe the muscles at the back of the leg, something like that. Just look at it a bit more to like understand the shape, because the way I work with this is that I try to draw it over and over again. Even though I'm not fully understanding what's going on, I try to draw it over and over again. I try to look at probably the etymology of the muscles that I'm interested in. Not all of them. I won't do that for all of them, but like the muscles that I would like to know, or like maybe they're giving me a little bit of problem, or just like try and study them and see how they are. Try to remember them is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and that's how I work. I'll see you in the next video.